Welcome back to Dear Crabby. I'm Frank, by the way. And if you've got any questions, shoot them out to me at dearcrabby9@gmail.com, or you can phone them in at 312-725-9973, and I will get the transcript that way. And as always, I'm not a psychologist or a psychiatrist, but I will try to answer your questions with some down-to-earth common sense. So the first young lady that's writing in today is entitled, How Could He Not Know? Sort of a love story here, and she wants to reattach. She writes, Dear Crabby, I've been in love with my friend Bill since I met him in high school in 2018. He was a foreign exchange student from Spain. We spent nearly every moment we could together the first year. We talked about everything and had so much fun together. We would take walks together, and eventually he was holding my hand. We never talked about having a relationship, and I just figured he wasn't interested. That could have been a mistake. She writes to say I chalked up the fact that he held my hand to the difference in cultures. For example, in many European countries, they greet each other by kissing each cheek. The next year I went to college and he went off to Boston. He came to see me for a week that winter, and I saved up all my money and flew to see him for 2 weeks that spring. That summer, he moved back to Spain, and I haven't seen him since. I miss him terribly, and I still talk to him via email every so often. I've been in a 2-year-long relationship with someone else that ended about 3 months ago. I realized that the man I lived with was my best friend, but I did not love him the way I still loved Bill from Spain. I don't know what to do or how to tell Bill that I'm still in love with him. Is it even fair for me to do so? I don't even speak his native language. I haven't seen him in 3.5 years, and I barely correspond with him, but he's always in my thoughts and my heart. I could really use your advice, desperately seeking Bill. So this is interesting. So you went to see him for 2 weeks that spring. You both spent a lot of time together, and the talk of love or maybe something a little bit deeper evidently did not come up. So I'm a little kind of, is this just really old-fashioned? To the extent that maybe you both really had a good friendship there. I'm kind of wondering if you had the kind of relationship that you're looking for. You said that you were with somebody now that was really turned out to be your best friend, and I'm wondering, did you have that with Bill as well? And I don't know, is there something going on here where you have a problem with attachment? I don't know. I mean, can you go a little bit deeper into things? Because it doesn't look like that's the case here. I'm not saying something's wrong with you, not at all. But I think that you have to be perhaps a little bit more proactive, a little more involved, from the relationship standpoint. They're not going to happen by chance. So in this situation, I would suggest that you get back in touch with him over email. Take it slow. Take it very slow. Find out what he's doing. And he might be married. It's 3.5 years have gone by. So take it slow and see if there's something that you can rekindle and be a little bit more proactive about how you feel with him and see if he feels the same way. But give that a little bit of time. Those questions should come a little bit more towards the second, third, fourth email exchange. But you need to find that out to see if you've got anything that you can rekindle here. So the next question is, I've termed this Thinking About Eternity and Marriage in New York. So she writes to say, my boyfriend and I have been together for 5.5 years. We're having problems with our belief in the afterlife and marriage. But everything else seems to be okay, I'm assuming. It's the problem with your belief in the afterlife and the marriage that you're looking for help with. She goes on to say, I believe if I go to heaven before my soulmate, then I'm waiting for him in heaven and vice versa. I believe we will always be together and our marriage will never die along with our love. I don't believe in moving on. I believe in eternity. He doesn't really know what he believes in, but feels if his wife died, he would be sad, and it would take a while to get over it, but then he would feel at some point to move on and find someone new, and that his wife wouldn't be waiting for him. That her spirit only lives in those lives she met on earth. I don't know what to do. I love him so much and I want to spend the rest of my life with him. But when I take my vows, I want it to be for eternity, not forever. And he doesn't believe that. What should I do? I'm 24 and we've been together 5.5 years. And we're talking about marriage. We aren't engaged yet, but I can picture spending the rest of my life with him. I love him more than anything else on earth. What should I do? Any advice you could give us and or book you can suggest? I would appreciate anything you can throw my way. Thanks so much. Well, I don't know. It looks to me like you're sort of angling down the road of this being a big blockade for you in terms of the possibility of marriage. I'm just kind of getting ahead of the storm here. And it looks to me like you've been with him 5.5 years. I don't think that it's worth the situation that you've described is really worth the thought of not marrying him. And it seems like you might be going in that direction, which I'm a little concerned about. I think you need to kind of relax a little bit in terms of what he believes in the long term. And there's been countless examples, and you know this, where someone has died and their other half obviously is left on earth and they remarry and things work out. I don't think you can expect him to remain single if you were to pass away. I don't think that's reasonable. And there's plenty of situations where relationships have formed after that, after a reasonable time, sometimes not, after somebody has passed away. I think you just need to kind of believe what you believe and live life in its fullest. You both seem to love each other. Let that continue. Don't let this block you. And, in the afterlife, I think that there'll be a place for you. And if you marry someone else, there'll be a place for that person. And you will be able to peacefully coexist. You won't be arguing in heaven about this situation. So I would just suggest that you take it down a notch, let the love happen, and don't let this blockade you from getting married. Please don't do that. And just kind of take life as it is. If that's what he wants to believe, I think you need to kind of not be so starched, so rigid, and just let life happen. Enjoy your life. It's too soon to worry about what happens in the afterlife. I think you'll be fine there. So the next question is, she works with pit vipers in Ohio. Pit vipers. I have intercepted an email message between coworkers stating that they are going to make my life miserable until I quit. What should I do? And how do I deal with that? I feel paranoid now. Well, first of all, employers do not want you to work in a situation where people are going to make your life miserable until you quit. It's too hard to find good employees. They don't want this to happen to anybody in their organization. Employers will deal with people on an individual basis, as you know, and if they're great, they get commended. If they're not so great, they ultimately will leave. And I would suggest that at this stage, you go to HR and you tell them about the email message, because they'll be able to nip this in the bud. And I wouldn't let this fester. I wouldn't let it go on, because this is not the kind of thing that anyone should have to deal with in a company. So the next person comes in with this title, Still Sad in Arizona, is what I've assigned to this. And she says, my daughter died 1 year ago, and ever since I'm just a very unhappy person. They put me on medication, but I still feel the same. What should I do? As hard as it is to pull the pieces back together, that's really what you need to do. And I would suggest looking at her life in terms of how many people she touched, how many lives she benefited, and look at the good things that your daughter did. Write them down if you have to, but concentrate on everything that she did that was good. And how many people she affected. And that's what's going to get you through these difficult times. Medication will help, but it's really how you choose to view this situation. We can't undo what's been done. And I think that focusing on the positive things that your daughter has done, and I'm sure there are plenty of them, take stock of these things. Remind yourself daily of what she did. Because ultimately, in the end, I think we'll all be back together. But this will help you manage life and get through life, I think. And terrible things like this happen. And this is just one of the ways that we can manage to deal with these unfortunate things that pop up. Well, folks, I want to thank you for joining me. And as always, feel free to email me at dearcrabby9@gmail.com. And we'll anticipate eagerly the problems that you're having in your workplace, your love life, or with your money. Till then, folks, thanks for tuning in, and we'll look for you next time.